Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Chicago Weather Talk. It's an offshoot of my website, which is right there, chicagoweathertalk.com. And on this website, I'll be talking quite often about different weather patterns, unusual weather patterns, topical weather items in the news that affect us, including more recently, I just blogged about the coronavirus and will the change in seasons going from winter to spring to summer, the warmer temperatures and the humidity level changes, will that impact the mitigation of this virus, the spread of this virus? Hopefully it will. Also, I blogged recently about the major tornado outbreak in Nashville earlier in March, and that's going to play into a part of what I'm going to talk about today too. So I'll get back to that in a second. But first, back to my blog. Today, I am blogging about what does a slight risk for severe weather mean? And of course, the reason I've chosen that topic is because we are in the slight risk category for severe weather, according to the Storm Prediction Center. And let me go to their website right here. The SPC, as it is sometimes known, issues these outlooks, these convective outlooks. For today, they issue one for 2 out to about 3 days, and experimentally it goes out to over a week. And the convective outlooks, convection or convectiveness is just a synonym for thunderstorms. So it's basically an outlook of where thunderstorms could be occurring across the country and what is the risk for some of those being severe. Now today we are in that slight risk category outlined here in yellow. The Storm Prediction Center, by the way, is located right here in central Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma, right in the heart of Tornado Alley. If you ever get a chance to go visit their facilities, it's just beautiful. A huge facility, has some really bright meteorologists working there. Again, the front lines for severe weather, doing some great work. And you're a taxpayer, so you paid for that. You get a chance to go get a free tour if you make arrangements and plan on that ahead. But again, that's down in Norman, Oklahoma. But we're in that slight risk category in yellow here that extends all the way into southern Wisconsin, much of Illinois, all the way down to Texas. A slightly greater risk for severe weather. The enhanced risk areas in orange here, parts of Iowa, Missouri, from the Ozarks up into the Ohio Valley region. So more about what does this mean, the slight risk for severe weather? Well, there's all types of risk levels here. There's actually 5 of them, and there's actually also outlined sometimes on the maps just kind of a general thunderstorm area in this lighter shade. Let me go back in this kind of lighter shade right there of green, which just means your garden variety thunderstorms are possible there. But when it gets more serious, you get into these risk levels, of which there are 5: marginal, slight, enhanced, moderate, and high. High end, that's when we really start to get nervous and get concerned. Normally, though, thankfully, we only see that once, maybe every couple of years here in the Chicago area. And the reason why we're thankful that it doesn't occur any more frequently than that is because when there's a high risk, it means there's a very good likelihood there's going to be a major tornado outbreak, or at least a pretty good chance, as chances go for those things. And then those tornadoes will be long-lived, very widespread, particularly intense. So that's what we fear the most. We are in the second from the lowest risk category, a slight risk, but it shouldn't be dismissed because even earlier this March, Nashville was in the slight risk category for severe weather, and they ended up having about 10 tornadoes between late March 2nd into March 3rd. 25 deaths, the deadliest tornado outbreak, I believe, in Tennessee's history, the strongest of which the tornado that occurred just east of Nashville in Cookeville, an EF4 with 175 mile per hour winds. So, and they were in a slight risk category. Now, normally that doesn't happen. You don't get these more widespread outbreaks, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. Normally what you'd expect are scattered severe thunderstorms, short-lived and or not widespread, isolated intense storms possible. And typically, this kind of event, you'd see 1 or 2 tornadoes spin up, reports of strong winds, wind damage, and hail maybe 1 inch to 2 inches in diameter. So that's the kind of thing you would expect with a slight risk category, and of course that's what we're in today. Now the discussion for this notes a couple of things, and one thing in particular stood out to me, and I'll get to that in just a second, but the dynamics are all coming together. We've got some pretty strong wind shear, and the wind shear is a change in wind speed with direction, wind speed or direction with height. We've got some strong low-level southwest winds. We've got winds that'll be turning to the northwest later on tonight as a cold front comes through. And we've got an atmosphere that's destabilizing, colder air coming in aloft. So all those things coming together spells the greatest trouble probably late today into tonight. Now, if you're watching this, I taped this earlier today, this afternoon, around 2 o'clock. So make sure you're stay tuned to live weather coverage if thunderstorms are brewing in your area. But this is what we were looking at earlier today, at least. Again, the greatest risk late today and overnight tonight. And this is what stood out. So they're talking about all the dynamics, the energy coming together for these storms. And what's there, the scenario, the dynamic support potential for supercells and Boeing line segments capable of damaging winds, tornadoes, and hail. Supercells are thunderstorms that have rotation. They're also called mesocyclones, and many times those will go on to spawn a tornado. Not always. Supercells are the storms we really watch out for. Boeing line segments don't normally produce tornadoes, but they do produce usually straight line winds that can the equivalent of some weaker end tornadoes on the EF scale. So still you could get just as much damage as you would get from, say, an EF0 to an EF1 or even an EF2 tornado. So that's what they're noting for the possibility late today and overnight tonight, especially in those areas they outlined here, the enhanced areas here across parts of Iowa, Missouri, and again, the Ozarks up through the Ohio Valley region. So that's what we're going to be kind of watching out for later on tonight. And even though we are in March, and typically the worst season or the worst months for severe weather season are April, May, and June, March, we normally see about 10% of our significant tornadoes. So F2 tornadoes are stronger, occur in the month of March in the Chicagoland area. One of the more noteworthy storms that occurred, probably one of the deadliest storms that occurred in March, it was late March, March 1920, a storm that came through some suburbs, including Wilmette. And I believe that storm killed about 20 people. At one point, the swath of damage is about 200 yards wide through the town of Wilmette. Here are a couple of noteworthy items that were mentioned here in this article, and this is from gendisasters.com. George Mix, a watchman at a railroad crossing in Wilmette, was severely injured when the storm lifted his shanty, rolled it for more than 3 blocks, carrying him as a prisoner. Haynes Irving and his son and daughter were blown into an abandoned basement 50 feet away when the storm destroyed a small portable house in which they were eating dinner. So again, even though we're in a slight risk, and even though we're in March, you can still get some pretty deadly tornadoes. Now, one of the lessons learned, and this is something I blogged about earlier this week, in Nashville, we had the tornado outbreak earlier in the year. The main lesson learned from that is that you have to have redundant sources that you rely on for your severe weather alerts. So the main one should probably be weather radio, and you can get those just about anywhere. Walmart, Kmart, most retail stores, I believe, probably Walgreens, Safeway. You can get these just about anywhere. They're fairly inexpensive, about $20 to $30. You can program them to just your county, just your area you're concerned with. You need that along with some other sources, maybe your phone, maybe live TV, over-the-air radio, but make sure you have more than one source to rely on, especially when these storms hit at night, and these storms could hit at night. That's when they're most dangerous. The mortality rate from these storms goes up quite a bit when they occur, say, late at night into the early morning hours. So watch out for that. Again, this is all part of my new project here, ChicagoWeatherTalk.com, my website, and what you're watching now, my YouTube channel. So thank you for watching. I hope you all stay safe, and I hope you all check back in here often. Take care.